He always believed their love story was one for the ages. For 10 years, Mark had been the devoted husband, the loving partner, the man who would do anything for his wife, Sarah, and a comfortable routine that felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. He was the steady rock, the one who worked long hours to provide, the one who always came home to her smile. He trusted her implicitly, without a single doubt. That trust was the foundation of his world, as solid and unshakable as the earth beneath his feet. But what he didn't know was that a hairline crack had already formed in that foundation, and a single devastating tremor was about to bring his entire world crashing down around him. It started subtly, as these things often do, a change in her routine. Sarah, who was usually an open book, became more guarded with her phone. It was always face down on the table or clutched in her hand. When he'd ask who she was texting, she'd wave it off with a casual, "Oh, just a group chat from work, or my sister. You know how she is." Mark didn't think much of it at first. Why would he? This was Sarah, his Sarah. The idea of her hiding something was as foreign to him as a language he'd never heard. He'd tease her about being glued to her screen, and she'd just laugh it off, a little too quickly, a little too loudly. Looking back, he'd see the signs were all there, like little red flags fluttering in a storm he couldn't yet see. The late nights at the office, the sudden weekend trips with the girls that he wasn't invited to. Each one was a small cut, a tiny betrayal he explained away, because the alternative was simply unthinkable. He was so busy being the loyal, trusting husband that he failed to see the stranger she was becoming right before his eyes. The day his world broke was agonizingly ordinary. It was a Tuesday. Mark had come home from work a little early, planning to surprise Sarah with her favorite takeout. The house was quiet. He found her asleep on the sofa, her phone lying on the floor beside her, screen lit up. He bent down to pick it up, intending to plug it in for her, and that's when he saw it. A notification on the lock screen. It wasn't from her sister or a work colleague. It was from a man he'd never heard of, a name that felt like a punch to the gut. The message itself was just a few words, but those words were a dagger to his heart. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible." Time seemed to freeze. The air in the room grew thick, heavy, and hard to breathe. Mark stood there, staring at the glowing screen, the words burning into his mind. Last night she had told him she was working late, stuck in a meeting that dragged on for hours. He had believed her. He had made her dinner and saved it, texting her that he missed her. And all the while she was with someone else. A wave of nausea washed over him. He sank onto the armchair opposite the sofa, the takeout bag falling from his numb fingers. Every memory, every shared laugh, every "I love you" suddenly felt like a lie. Was any of it real? He looked at the sleeping woman on the sofa, the woman he had pledged his life to, and he saw a complete stranger. The silence in the house was deafening, filled only by the sound of his own heart shattering into a million pieces. He had to know more. It was a self-destructive urge, a need to understand the full extent of the betrayal. With trembling hands, he used her fingerprint to unlock the phone while she slept. His heart pounded in his chest as he opened her messages. And there it was. Not just one message, but months of them. A whole secret life laid bare. Conversations filled with inside jokes he didn't understand, flirty emojis, and plans for secret meets. He saw pictures of them together, smiling, intimate. They had names for each other, a secret world he was never a part of. The worst part was reading her words about him. "Mark is so predictable," one message read. "He never suspects a thing." Each word was another twist of the knife. He wasn't just betrayed, he was a fool, a joke, the loyal, predictable husband who was so easy to deceive. He scrolled and scrolled, a morbid fascination compelling him to see just how deep the rabbit hole went. He felt a cold, hollow emptiness spread through him, replacing the warmth and love that had once filled his life. When Sarah finally stirred, she opened her eyes to find Mark sitting across from her, her phone in his hand, his face a mask of stone-cold devastation. The color drained from her face as she realized what had happened. The charade was over. There was no casual excuse, no easy lie that could fix this. "Mark, ... she began, her voice a weak whisper, but he held up a hand, silencing her. He didn't want to hear it, not the apologies, not the justifications. What could she possibly say that would unbreak his soul? "How long?" he asked, his voice raw, barely recognizable. The question hung in the air between them, heavy and suffocating. Her silence was the only answer he needed. In that moment, he saw the full 10 years of their marriage through a new, painful lens. He saw every late night, every excuse, every distant look in her eyes for what it truly was. It was a slow, methodical dismantling of everything he held sacred. The days that followed were a blur of numb autopilot. Mark moved into the guest room, the house a battleground of suffocating silence and whispered, painful conversations. Sarah cried, she begged, she promised it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, that he was the one she loved. But her words were like rain on a tombstone. They couldn't bring back the man he used to be, the man who trusted her. He couldn't look at her without seeing her lies, without hearing those messages echo in his head. The love he once felt had been replaced by a gnawing bitterness and a profound sense of loss. He wasn't just mourning the end of his marriage, he was mourning the death of the future he thought they had, the person he thought she was, and the naive, trusting man he could never be again. He realized that sometimes love isn't enough to heal a wound so deep. The hardest part was letting go. Letting go of a decade of shared history, of the dream of growing old together. But staying meant living with a ghost, a constant reminder of the betrayal. With a heavy heart, Mark knew what he had to do. He packed his bags, not just with clothes, but with the fragments of his broken heart. Leaving the home they built together was one of the most painful things he'd ever done. Each step away from the front door felt like a step into an unknown, terrifying future. But it was also a step towards himself, a step towards healing. He knew the road ahead would be long and difficult. He would have to learn to trust again, starting with himself. He would have to rebuild his life from the rubble, piece by painful piece. It was a daunting task, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like a choice he was making for himself. This story isn't just about the pain of betrayal. It's about the incredible resilience of the human spirit. It's a reminder that even when your world is shattered, you have the strength to rebuild. The scars may remain, but they become a testament to the battles you've survived. For anyone out there who has felt the sting of a broken heart or a betrayal that cut to the soul, know that you are not alone. Your pain is valid, but it does not have to be your final chapter. Reaching out for support, whether from friends, family, or a professional, is a sign of immense strength. Healing is a journey, not a destination, and every step you take, no matter how small, is a victory. You deserve a love that is honest, and a life that is built on a foundation of truth. You have the power to close one chapter and begin writing a new, better one. Thank you so much for joining me for this story today. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the complexities of life and the strength we find within ourselves. Your support means the world. Take care and remember your worth.